Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred and I have a very special guest with me today. This is MtgJedi. How you doing, man?
What's up? Good. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the channel. Actually, this was really great. This is my first collab, and you reached out to me, which I really appreciate. Your viewership is several times my viewership right now, so I really appreciate the hand and reaching out. It's been great. So we did a video on your channel earlier. I'm going to put up the links to that video and to MtgJedi's YouTube channel, so make sure that you check those out. And then what we're going to do today is we're going to play a little bit of a game of 20 questions. The No Dime December movement is here. It is December 2nd right now, and this is the big topic going on. And you have volunteered to come on my channel and talk about it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to talk about it. You know, Jay Giggs, friend of mine, and he and I have talked about it as well. So I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Fantastic. All right, so in honor of our guest, let's get it. But all right, so, you know, I suspect that most of my viewers already know who you are, but I thought that I'd just, you know, ask you some questions and get your background out there. So how did you start playing Raid? Like, when did you start and what drew you to the game?
Yeah, so Raid is my COVID game. I was actively covering and playing Pokemon Go when COVID hit. And then we're all locked up inside, and it's really hard to go catch Pokemon when you can't leave your house. So I was looking for another game to play, like, in the meantime, you know? And one of the Magic players that I followed, he got a sponsorship from Raid. It was his second game. He was playing it on the side. And so I just decided to give it a try, and man, I just never looked back. I took to it immediately and loved it right away.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think I started just at the beginning of the pandemic. What do you think is the most fun of the game? What's the aspect that still gets you up in the morning and like you're excited to go do?
The thing that I love the most is gearing champions. It reminds me of building pen and paper RPG characters where you're, you know, looking for different abilities in your team or your build, you're gearing, you're having all of these little details about your characters. And it brings back the like old school, you know, RPG stuff that I loved from growing up. And I think that's why I love doing takeovers so much, because it lets me do more of that on other people's accounts. Everyone's account is unique, and it's so fun seeing like what people do on their accounts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Actually, I've started doing takeovers, and I think the most fun I have during a takeover is when I start rebuilding champions.
Yeah.
So definitely really fun. When you started playing, did you know about gacha games? Like, did you know about the genre or sort of the economic model of gacha games, or was that new to you?
I mean, kind of. You know, like every mobile game has their own way to try to get you to spend in the game. I played a couple different games that I guess would fall into the same category, but were very, very different. So it was like kind of a natural progression for me. But not really. To answer your question, not really, but sort of.
Okay. When you started content creation, was that part of the decision-making process? Were you at all worried about doing content for a gacha game, or did you feel like the game was maybe, you know, outside of the economic model was so strong that you just thought that that was the draw?
So, I was originally a Pokemon Go channel. I started covering that game, doing vlogs, like traveling with a camera and stuff. It was very different. It took me way longer to put videos together. I would have to go out, record, come back, put those clips together. It was really awkward with like trying to record your screen. It was a lot more challenges. And then I actually did not start with YouTube. I took a break after Pokemon Go with YouTube. And when I started playing Raid, I was like, well, there's this new TikTok thing. It seems like it's kind of catching on. Like maybe I'll just, record a couple things and post videos on there. And then that led to me posting the TikToks on YouTube and then just starting the YouTube channel back up again because it was much easier to just sit down and record. So for me, the process was more like, I know some things about this game. I had been playing for over a year, maybe 2 years even, whenever I started covering the game. So it was more like, I just want to share the thing that I love, that I know some things about, and maybe try to make a little bit of money with it.
Right.
I didn't really think about the type of game it was or the monetization or anything like that. That wasn't really a part of my thought process. I just wanted to share the thing I love with other people. So
Yeah, and I think that's part of the dream of anybody who thinks about content creation, right? Is like you have something that you're really passionate about, and if you can maybe make a little bit of money while sharing that thing with other people, it seems like a win-win. I know that was definitely part of my thought process. It was like, I really want to do this. I think it'd be really fun, and it wouldn't hurt if it made a little money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. How long do you see yourself playing this game? Like, what do you think the lifespan of this game will be on its own, maybe separately? And then how long do you foresee yourself continuing to play?
Well, I am usually a 1 or 2 game type of person. I am not the type of person that plays a lot of games all the time and buy a new game, beat the game. That's not my play style. I like to find the thing that I love and stick with it. Like Pokemon Go, I played every day for 5 years straight, except one day I was too sick to get out of bed. Other than that, it was every single day for 5 years. And we're kind of on track with that same kind of thing with Raid. And even with all of the drama going on throughout, on and off, the course of this game's lifespan, I still really love it. I really enjoy it. I'm finding new things that I like more and more. But you should probably ask me that question again in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because with the new content coming out, I really feel like we're at a tipping point where either that's going to propel us into the next couple of years, or we're going to take a big downturn if it doesn't turn out well. And I'm really worried about that situation, but hopeful that it will go well.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think I'm like you. I tend to play just 1 or 2 games at a time. And this has been my main game for the last 2.5 years. And I'm not tired of it yet. Like, I'm still excited to play it. And the new content is great. And I want them to keep developing new content. But I still enjoy just logging in and finding new challenges to take on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that I think that if this new content goes well, I think that the game is well set up for the next couple of years. And I would really enjoy continuing to cover the game for years to come, as long as they continue making it a place where people want to play.
Right. All right. So I'm a new content creator and I'm still figuring this thing out. And you are the first content creator I've actually had a chance to sit down and talk a little bit of shop with. So I want to ask you some questions specifically about content creation.
Sure.
And so what I would ask you, I think everybody would probably have a different answer to this question, but put the game aside for a second. Simply the job of content creation or the hobby of content creation. What's the best part of it for you?
Well, me as a content creator, me as a player of games, my play style is to find new, weird, interesting things. Like from playing Magic for 20 years, my decks of choice were always off meta. It's weird for me right now that I'm using Terrace and Marichka. That's very weird. And one of my main issues with Raid is that there really is no meta. You're either playing Terrace or Marichka or you're struggling to beat them. And so that part about it is hard for me. But as a content creator, I love showing those unique and interesting strategies. And from talking to people, that seems to be what they like about my channel as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand. coming up with weird and interesting things, showcasing other people's things that they've come up with. Like all of that, that's what I love. Like I'm the ideas guy. So like all of these crazy ideas that I have, I just want to share those with other people.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually what I really enjoyed about your channel when I first found it.
Oh,
is
okay.
that I am also an off meta guy. Obviously, as a free to play player, you very rarely operate within the meta. So I like people who theory craft. We both have a background in Magic the Gathering. Obviously, you were more competitive than I was, but the appeal of that game is also like finding cool synergies that maybe nobody else has thought of, or executing them in ways that are new and kind of exciting. And so I've always appreciated that about your content.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Okay, so I've just applied to the content creator program. I know that you're in the content creator program. What do you think are like the positives? What's the appeal to being in the program?
Number one, you get free stuff. That makes it very helpful in making content. You just get a little bit of extra stuff for free that makes it not bad when you waste resources. I can't tell you, like if you go look at my vault, there's probably 26-star champions in there that I leveled up for a video that I never recorded. Or, like that lets me do things like you have rewards of make me level up any champion, and I don't have to feel bad about it. I have chickens just sitting around. It makes other people feel a little bit bad, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Because they see all of the chickens just stack up. I probably have 300 5-star chickens right now.
Yeah.
And like people feel bad about that when they see it, but they like it when I'm able to do all of the cool things because I have those resources.
Yeah.
So I really wish that Polarium would let us give chickens away.
That'd be great.
I think that would be really cool. And that leads me to the second thing is we get to do gem giveaways. I think the community is a little bit over it, which is weird to me because like free gems is free gems. Like 540 gems can do a lot of things in the game. And I like coming up with cool ways to give those away to people. So that's part number 2. Part number 3 is we get sometimes a little bit of advanced notice on what's happening in the game. The flip side of that is we give so much feedback to them that would eliminate all of these problems, and they don't hear us.
Yeah.
And so it gets frustrating. And, like people will leave the content creator program because of that frustration, or really not participate. But I like to just focus on the positives of what it can do to help the community and our channel. But it does get a little frustrating behind the scenes. Like all of the stuff, like we read the comments and then we pass that along to Polarium. And, it's just we talk to the messenger. We don't ever talk to the actual people that make the decisions. So it's a little bit frustrating for us behind the scenes, but it's worth it because I think it brings a really positive thing to the community. And we just deal with that stuff, so that we have the opportunities we do.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, how much time do you spend on the test server? Because you're a theory crafter.
I don't spend nearly enough. With still having a full-time job in addition to making videos, multiple jobs, it is difficult for me to find time because usually when they open it, it's Monday morning and the test server's open. I'm at work. So that part is challenging right now. If I was full-time, I would use it a lot more. But sometimes what's available on the test server is just new champions. And I think, like sometimes the community doesn't like to see that because it's just another champion I'm not going to have, basically.
Right.
But let us know in the comments below what you disagree with or what you agree with. Like I'm kind of generalizing here, but make sure you tell us your opinions.
He's a pro. See that? I still need to do that more. I need to call for, comments and engagement. But okay, so just to round out our content creation questions, what's a piece of advice if you were to give, somebody was asking you advice saying, I want to get into content creation, is there one piece of advice above everything else that you would give them first?
The number one piece of advice that I've heard from other people and that I would also back is just do it. The majority thing with people is they don't start it.
Right.
Once you start it, you can refine your craft. You can find your voice. You can find your style. You can improve something, relatively frequently and make it better and better and better. You can learn new skills. You can do all of that. But you can't do all of that until you actually start. Because if you don't start, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what you need to learn. And once you actually get into it, you're going to know right away. Like, it's going to be obvious. Okay, well, I need to work on thumbnails, or I need to, be more precise with my topics and stay focused, whatever it is. But everybody has their own style. And so trying to figure out what your style is and what makes you unique, that would be the second thing, and I think that's a strength of you and your channel. That's what drew me to watching some of your content, is that I feel like the way you do things and what you do is different from other people. And the differences are what make each of our channels cool.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's great advice. And I think before I started, that was the first piece of advice you gave, was the one that I saw the most from YouTube content creators. If you go and watch videos about how to start a YouTube channel, the first thing everybody says is just start. Learn everything as you're doing. And then all that stuff you said about refining is very true, and finding your place. And I appreciate the compliments on my channel. I think that it's good to have an idea of what you want to do. It's also a good idea to be flexible so that you can find something that you're good at. You may not know what you're actually good at until you start trying.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to move on to, we're going to be talking about No Dime December, but I want to just kind of shift to talking about money as a general topic first.
Okay.
So just based on, some videos that have been going around, we're all speculating about money. We don't really know exactly how many players watch YouTube, how much they spend, how much we spend on in general. We don't know exactly the numbers that Plarium has. So if you had to just guesstimate, what percentage of your viewers do you think are actually spenders?
My viewers, I think a larger percentage, maybe as much as 50%. From what I know to believe about my viewers is most of them have been playing for a while. And because I do takeovers and I do charge for those, that tends to bring spenders to my channel. And the other thing, like one of the other things I'm known for, is analyzing the packs. I have the whole pack offers section on my website. I've spent some money on the game. I tend to analyze those pack offers just like Smiley or like what Chosen used to do. And so I would say I probably have a higher percentage of spenders than some of the other content creators.
That's interesting to me that you picked 50%, because I think 50% of my viewers are probably spenders. And I'm
interesting.
I'm the free to play guy. Now, again, that's just sort of an estimate. It's a guesstimate. And it may be that maybe I get the lower spenders. I don't know that I have many whales watch my channel. I might have a few, but I do think the vast majority of players, and this was a surprise to me, I think the vast majority of players who watch YouTube actually do spend at least something, even if it's just, $10 a month they spend. I still think there's a large portion that's free to play. I really do. And I think that that's good for the game. I don't think Plarium likes it, but that's really good for the game. I agree.
You want people engaged in the game, watching YouTube videos, supporting the content creators, new players coming to the game, downloading the game. Like, all of that is important. I just don't think they value that enough.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things I do think you're right, that I think there's a large number of free-to-play players in the game. But what I'm finding more and more in my comments and in my Discord community, which I didn't expect, is that a lot of players call themselves free-to-play now. I've become free-to-play.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying my account is free-to-play. I now operate within the game without spending money. So I might have spent $500 or $5,000, but I've stopped. And so now I consider myself free to play. And I think that's great, by the way. I think that's absolutely fair. And that's like an evolution of the term free to play that's a little bit different than in other games.
Right.
But I appreciate that. But I will say from Plarium's standpoint, right, lifetime value of your account matters. So if you spend $1,000 and then stopped spending, that should be an issue to them, but they still might see you just as $1,000 that they've gotten.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, one of the reasons why maybe this game has a little bit more or seems to have more spenders than other games is because of the age range that it, brings in. What I normally see is like I don't see teenagers very often. This is adults with money.
Yeah.
And they want to spend money on the fun things that they do, even if that's just $10, $20, $50 at Christmas.
Right.
Once or twice a year. I have lots of people like that. Like one of my buddies I talk to every day. That's exactly how he operates. Basically, he's free to play most of the time. But then, really, obviously, he's not free to play because he spends in the game. And I think that's what Plarium needs to take advantage of more than getting everybody to spend all of the money that they possess.
Right.
Yeah, well, like
absolutely.
if you get all of the players to give you $5 to $20, that's going to be a lot more money than just the whales giving you their money all the time.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of whales and speaking of the different, levels of spending, what do you think like categorizes somebody as, say, a whale or a kraken versus a low spender or a mid-tier spender?
So I think everybody has their own definition of that. I would say, for me, if you're spending $100 or less a month, that is still low spend. That's like an adult's fun budget, a night out to the movies and dinner, or, buying some video game. You're just putting whatever your monthly budget is for fun into this game. In terms of whales, I bet most whales are spending $1,000 a month, probably. And krakens, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
There's, $100,000 on an account is not unreasonable for this game.
Right.
That happens a lot more than what people realize. Those platinum level accounts are absolutely insane to a level that most people can't comprehend.
It's funny. I don't know if you saw my video. I reacted to Hell Hades' most recent video called "What Do We Want from Plarium?"
Yeah,
and in it he said something about he spent $500 per month over the last 2 months, and that's a reasonable expenditure because it's a business expenditure.
Yeah.
And I responded to that, and I'm like, it absolutely can be a reasonable business expenditure and simultaneously be an absurd amount of money to spend on a game.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly.
And so you just use that term reasonable again. You said, it's $10,000 a month is reasonable in this game. And I think the thing that happened with the comments in my previous videos, people really got attached to that word. And so I just want to make it clear that you are not saying that makes sense. It's just a common number that people spend.
Correct. Yes,
right.
It's common. I don't think it's reasonable to do that. No, but it is common, yes.
Yeah, because I didn't want you to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. And, HH took some heat over some of the things he said, and I don't think he deserved as much heat as he got.
I am really surprised about that because 500 is low for him.
Yes.
Like, before he started into this new game he was making, before, like a couple years ago when he was making content, I guarantee you it was a lot more than that. The shard opening videos are expensive,
right?
And like you make some of that back and then you can write it off on your taxes, but like you still have to spend it.
Yes.
If you're going to do that content.
Yeah. And he's a phenomenal businessman. I mean, he took those investments and built the biggest channel in the raid community, and the website is phenomenal. And he's actually positioned himself as a potential new game developer. So he succeeded, right?
Yeah.
I can't either.
Sure.
I can't. All right. So we kind of got far afield there, but I do want to bring it back. I have a couple of questions. So we've talked about this model, the gotcha stuff. do you see a danger in the current models, or maybe, what danger might you see in the current sort of proliferation of these really aggressive monetization tactics from gaming companies?
I think they need to tone it down. I really do. Like, this is supposed to be microtransactions. There's no micro about Raid. Those are just transactions. You know, like
that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, you're transferring a significant portion of money if you're gonna buy one of these packs. Like, when I started playing these mobile games, we're talking like $2, $3. Like, those are microtransactions. That's fine. But I think this has gotten a little out of hand. But at the same time, you have to decide what it is that you want to spend. Like, if you only want to spend $2 to $5, then just stick to your guns. Nobody is making you spend money on these games. You have to make your own decisions. So even if they're charging astronomical prices, we still have to decide whether we're going to buy those things or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the biggest comments that I've heard against the No Dime December movement has been sort of the position of just personal responsibility. Responsibility. You are in charge of what you spend. And my personal concern is that while I agree with that to some extent, there are at-risk populations, right? These are video games. Children play these video games. We know that this is a gambling game that preys on potentially gambling addicts. It's been a conversation that's come up in the content creation circles before. And a lot of commenters have said that No Dime December won't work because the whales are gambling addicts and they can't stop spending. Now, I don't know that that's true, but that's a common comment that I hear. And so I wonder if, and I want to get your opinion on this, I wonder if we should treat these games like casinos, and they should be age restricted, and there should be ways to potentially shut off the valve and say, like opt into a program where you'd say, I don't want to spend on this game. I want to shut off the spending on the game so that I don't even have the temptation because I know I can't control my own spending.
Yeah, I don't know that that'll ever happen. I wish that was an option. Most of the time, the people I talk to who fall into that category, they just quit. They stop playing the game because that's the only way that they're going to remove themselves from that. I think you need to set a budget for yourself. And I probably even need to do a better job of that. I've spent quite a bit recently on all of this Black Friday stuff in order to save up for future videos. Like, you don't get like 350 ancient shards just from saving,
Right.
So, but my main concern with the No Dime December is that the results won't go the way we want it to.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that, like, this is going to put pressure on Plarium in the wrong way, and it's going to detract from where we're going. I like the idea of it, and I like the conversation about it, but I'm worried that it's not going to have the results that we want.
Okay, so that transitions us really nicely into the No Dime December conversation. So for you personally, will you be spending in December or no?
I think that I'm going to buy Xena. I've been really on the fence about it, but I have a sneaking suspicion, and this is nothing official, that they're going to buff her. Okay. I think that they need to. They need to buff her. But if they buff her after you can't buy her anymore, not only are people going to feel bad, but then the people who have her, they're going to be like, well, I need somebody to cover that. And so I'm thinking about buying her. Am I thinking about doing no spending? I don't think so. My plan right now is to massively cut my budget back. But if I need to spend for a video or, for something that I want to do in the game, I think that I'm still going to do that. But I haven't made a final decision yet. So I don't know for sure. That's where my thoughts are.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So my next question was going to be, why do you think some content creators have hesitated? And you've talked about your hesitation here, but is there anything else? Yeah. Is there something bigger than, you know, say getting assets for content creation itself? Is there something bigger here that maybe is at play, maybe specifically with content creators in the program?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think as a community, we don't know what we want. And that's part of the problem. So like, if we're going to do this and put pressure on Polarium, what is it that we want to get out of that? And I know that that's been, you know, you said you covered that. Hell Hades obviously has covered that. But I don't think that there's been a clear answer about that. So I wrote down a couple notes if you're okay with me going into that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I think what we want is different than what people think we want. And based on like watching the videos that are out there, I think I might be right, but I want to hear from other people on this. So I'll definitely be taking a look at your comment section to see what other people think as well. Because, you know, it's not just me, it's not just you. Right. You know, we're just voices in the community for this type of a topic.
Yeah.
So part of the issue is the spending, in my opinion. Like, the prices of the packs for the spenders is pretty insane. And specifically with two things. And it's not just shards. It's specifically primal shards.
Yeah.
And the thing that came right before that, which is soul stones. The price point on those for what you get is just ridiculous to me. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, they want to charge more for the soul stones to get souls than the actual shards, which you can get the champions.
Yeah.
How does that even make sense? And lately they've sort of like lowered the prices a bit, I guess, but like, I don't know, I still see packs with like, you know, $20 Eternal Soul Stones. Like, why is that a thing? That's crazy to me. So I think the prices on the packs for the people who want to spend, I think that's an important part of the conversation. And it makes me honestly question whether Polarium understands supply and demand or not.
Yeah.
Because that's not how it works.
No.
You just lower the price and more people buy it.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I've made that point several times myself. It's like you are in control of a limitless supply.
Yeah.
You don't have to restrict the supply the way you do.
Yeah. And if they would understand that, like going into the new content, we will need souls. Not 6-star perfect souls, but we will need souls on our champions. And it sounds like a specific number. Like, let's say you need 10 total stars between your team or something like that. Like, how do you want people to get those? Like, there are
no. You know the answer to that question. You know the exact answer to that question. Yeah. How do they want people to get those?
Spend money in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want us to spend money in the game, then you have to make it feel like we're getting a good value.
Yes.
I know a lot of people who would spend money in the game if they felt like they were getting, you too, if they felt like they were getting a fair value for their money. And so just change your pricing structure. Okay, so that's thing number one. Okay, but that's obviously not for everybody because there are low spend or free to play players. But like some of the low spend players, when they do spend, then they get bumped up into a higher spending tier, and then all of a sudden they don't want to do it anymore. Like, they want those lower packs. I want less resources. I want a lower price point. You know, all of that stuff. So I don't know why you can't just have a choice.
Yeah.
Again, like, if you let people spend what they want to spend, they'll spend it. Okay, so that's thing number one. Thing number two, which this is like going backwards in time, the thing that happened before both of those things, and that is going to be a focus on Iron Twins. And people just feel bad about that content because the rewards are so bad.
Yeah.
They're so bad. Like, we have a very limited amount of keys. We have to use energy for it, which I also don't like. And then what you get out of that time is nothing. You get nothing. Like most days, you don't even get one stone.
Right.
Not even a whole stone for that day's worth of effort in that dungeon. And that feels bad. It feels bad. And so I think that what we want is a reasonable way to get the resources we need in the game. Like, Clan Boss is still great.
Yes.
It gives you still the best rewards in the game. It's still one of the best game modes and the most important thing on your account. And Hydra is more important than Iron Twins because that's the main place that you get those soul stones. Then what is the point of Iron Twins in the game? And that idea of giving the bare minimal amount of rewards, that overflows into everything that they do in the game. You'll see that with 50,000 silver as a reward. You can do literally nothing in the game with 50,000 silver. That should never be a reward in the game. And what...
Sorry, I just want to jump in there because I completely agree with you about this. And I think one of the things that's really interesting as a free-to-play player is you see that they give us tons of rewards. They actually give us a lot of rewards, but a lot of the rewards that they give us are so cheap. They're so cheap. They're like, hey, we gave you 7 rewards. I'm like, yeah, but 50,000 silver and a 3-star chicken is like, you know, like those were the best out of it. It's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing. And it just feels like they want us to pay for any significant resources. And yeah, so I completely agree with you on that point.
Like, I think going backwards in time again, before that is Doom Tower. Doom Tower does have some of those crappy rewards, but it also has good stuff that you can get.
Yeah.
You can get resources to forge your gear. You can get actual shards to pull. Like, there's good stuff in there spread throughout the tower, and you don't have to spend energy. It's cool. Like, all of that stuff is great. But then moving forward after that, it's like they forgot you have to actually give us something to incentivize us to do it.
Yeah.
Like, the Hydra rewards were so bad for so long, nobody wanted to do Hydra. It's like, I'll just log in and do Clan Boss every day, because that's where I'm going to get the best reward. And then I'll do Doom Tower, because that gives me a couple other things as well. You need to incentivize the players to do your content. And the best way to do that is with the rewards that the game mode brings.
Yeah, and specifically with Hydra. Yeah. Like, I was very motivated to play Hydra until I got my Mithrala.
Yeah.
And then I just completely stopped playing because the rewards that they give you past that point are so much worse than the rewards you get, you know, moving up to Mithrala. Once you get your Mithrala, it's like, that's an amazing reward. Thank you. And then the game mode is pretty much useless at that point.
I personally, that's been my favorite thing about the game is Hydra.
Yeah.
And the bigger your roster gets, the more options you have, the more fun it is, because the cooler things you can try. But when you're coming up in the game, it can be very frustrating. Like, I just literally have no block buff champions. Or what I've been seeing lately is I don't have a single champion who can provoke anything on my account. And that makes it difficult to succeed because you need to fill these specific roles. But now with Hydra Clash, if they could balance that game mode ever, and with the better rewards in the Hydra chests, I think that game mode is starting to become one of the best things about the game. But they can't stop there. Like, you need to keep improving it and keep trying to balance the Hydra Clash. Because that's what the endgame players are pushing for, to get those accessories. But if it's not balanced, it gets frustrating.
Right.
So they need to work on the rewards in the game and the value for what you're getting. And I don't think that they realize either of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think, they've made movement in areas that I think are helpful. Like the accessories. I thought the accessories were a great addition. It's another motivation to get in there to Hydra. But I do think the thing that they're missing maybe is that every single time they give us something, they hold out their hands and they're like, give us money for it. You know,
Every
like
time.
even the clan insignia, I was like, I didn't ask for this. It should have been in the game at launch. I don't know why it wasn't. But they finally did it, and it's actually a pretty good system. Like the actual creator's not bad. And then you can only save twice, and then you have to pay gems in order to create a new insignia. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Like, is my 150 gems or 200 gems like so important to you that you can't just let me make an insignia for my clan whenever I want to? Like, is that what's going to line your pockets?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just weird. I don't understand it. I mean, that's kind of a normal thing. I don't know. I like the cooldown better.
Yeah.
Like in Marvel Snap that I'm playing, you can change your name for free, but there's like a 2 or 3 week cooldown.
Great.
So you have to be committed to it. You know what I mean? And I could see that type of a thing in Raid as well. Like you want to do something, like put it on a cooldown. Okay.
Yeah. Like masteries. Like not being able to change your masteries more than once for free. That's really frustrating, and it feels like a pain point. Like you could just say you can change it once every 48 hours or week or whatever it happens to be. And you know, because I don't know, like it doesn't make me want to spend gems on it. What it makes me want to do is not ever change my masteries.
Yeah.
So I'm
Totally
sorry. Did you have another point that you wanted to make about the things that we're looking for?
Yeah, there's one more thing too.
Go ahead.
We've been, as content creators, saying we wanted a battle pass ever since the first one came out. And we got the Forge Pass, and I've said the whole time, it's not fancy, it doesn't look pretty, but it's good value. It's just not, it's hard to see it, because you're getting the resources to forge the gear. It's just like a couple levels of RNG, but what you're getting for that is still good, and I like it. But then they come out with the Champion Pass, and it is seriously, I did not play Raid that day.
Yeah.
I closed the game, I put it away, I'm like, I'm not doing this today. It was the most discouraged I think I've ever been. We finally get the Battle Pass, Champion Pass, and it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad. And on top of that, it's way more expensive than it should be. It's bad and it's expensive. Like, who okayed this? So yeah, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on that.
What I was going to say is I'm pretty sure that's what set Jay Giggs off. I'm pretty sure that's what made him finally. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he said, we have to call for a spending strike because this is the most absurd we've seen it. And I think more than anything, the reason I believe in No Dime December is because this type of reaction that you had is something that Plarium clearly doesn't see. They don't, it's not part of their decision-making process. When 2 content creators or 5 content creators or 10 content creators, like,
it was
don't
unanimous.
play the game for a day.
You should have seen behind the scenes when this came out.
Yeah.
We literally said, take it down, fix it, and put it back.
Right.
Because you don't understand what you're going to do to the community by doing this.
Yeah. And so you told them. The content creators told them, and that's great to know. I'm glad that we have that out here right now, because not everybody in the community knows that you guys have been advocating for all of these changes all along. And
every day.
And whenever I hear somebody, like whenever I read a comment that says something about a content creator being a shill for Plarium or whatever, I'm like, I know these guys are battling for you. They are battling for the community, and Plarium doesn't listen. And I think that maybe the most important thing here is that they were told ahead of time. They went ahead and did it anyway. And now the repercussion is that the community is up in arms about it. And that's what should happen, I think. I think when a company goes so far as to ignore their consumer base so completely, and their like community outreach, program, the content creators, when they ignore the content creators completely like that, they should be woken up to the fact that their consumers are unhappy. And if there's no other way to do it, if you can't just tell them over and over and over again and have them listen, then you have to show them somehow And the only way that I know how to do that is to act in a way that affects what they care about, which is profits.
Yeah.
You know, so that's it. I mean, one of the things that Hell Hades says is he's not 100% on board with No Dime December, which I appreciate. There are a lot of reasons to have reservations.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he admitted was this is the only thing that will ever change Plarium because nothing else ever has.
Yep. Yep.
Oh.
The thing is with the Champion Pass, and I think that this is the main reason why we felt so bad, is because, number one, the Forge Pass exists. We see that.
Right.
All you have to do is change the gear at the end with a champion.
Yeah.
You already have the template.
Yeah.
Number two, what is it called? The Revival Pass or whatever, the thing with Elva.
That's the big one. Yeah.
On old accounts. We all thought they're going to use that as the template and put a new champion in there. Like, you already have it laid out. You've already seen people will buy that. And that's how you got to this point.
Right.
And so they had that knowledge, and then they chose to make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. And I made a video on that exact thing before it came out and it was announced. I was like, I wonder if they'll use this revival path or whatever they called it as the model, because if they do, it's the best move they could make. And then
just literally copy and paste it.
That's all they had to do.
It's still not too late, Plarium.
Right?
If you're watching this, just go change the whole thing to that and take Elva out, put Xena in, and give everybody the extra resources that they should have gotten. It's not too late. You can go fix it.
And it's not hard to do. It would take so little effort. It would take so little effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'd all be happy.
Yeah, we'd be a lot happier.
Yeah.
All right, so just a couple last questions. I really appreciate your thoughts and your feedback here. Just so you know, and I think you already knew before you came on, that I am a strong proponent of No Dime December. I think that the more people that get on board, the more likely it is to succeed. I don't know that I think it will succeed, but I think it's worth the attempt. Because nothing else, I think, is going to get through to Plarium. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions just about that end of it, which is, first of all, the timing of it is a little bit interesting. You did a video on Black Friday, right? Mm-hmm. Because we were the call for the No Dime December was already out. And you were like, does this mean we're not spending on Black Friday? And then I think you did a follow-up video as well. And now we were talking about, December being a time, the holidays, people spend more money. There are going to be more deals. Do you think the timing is good or bad for the movement? Meaning, like, is it more likely to succeed? Oh, you think it's bad?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us your thoughts on that?
Well, okay. So number one, you can't really control the timing of this. You know, it's just one of those things where this is the time where it came up. So this is the time where we're going to do it. But being that it is December, that's the main time where people spend money in the game. November and December. I got an iTunes gift card for Christmas. I'm going to go buy some shards. Or, somebody gave me $50 as a Christmas present. So okay, let me go get Xena and like 5 ancient shards. So like people have that extra money. They want to give gifts to people. Like, people's wives are like, oh, you play this game all the time? That's so sweet. Here's a couple dollars to spend on the game. So I think that it's bad timing. Now, will it work? I don't really know. But I think it would have been better if we did it in January or February. But I think then, obviously, we would have lost a lot of momentum. Yeah. Like, what we have right now is a good conversation going. And there's no possible way Plarium can ignore this. So many people have done videos on it.
Right.
I'm certain that people are on board with it. So it's happening. They need to decide how they're going to respond. And I actually think that the free tournament is a response.
You do?
I don't think that was planned. And here's the reason why, and I could be wrong on this. What were you playing last year in Raid?
Yeah.
Last year, what did we get for Christmas? We got a tournament where one person in the tournament group could win Tormund.
Right.
That is miles worse than this.
Yeah.
It's way worse. I was like, that's pretty crappy, Plarium. And that's like our Christmas event is like, we all get to fight for a Tormund? Why? So this year, everybody can get a Tormund. If you want to spend the resources, everybody can get a free Tormund. I think that that's really cool. Will they, inflate the points in the tournaments and stuff in order to get him? I mean, probably, but I hope not. But I really do think that the 500 free points just for logging in, that's literally something Jay Giggs said in his video.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to try that hard to get these champions. That's not how other games do it.
Right.
So I really think that Plarium is listening already. I think that the Tormund thing is a response, and I am hopeful that this pressure will lead to good results, but I'm worried that it won't.
Yeah. I want to present you with a couple of ideas and see what you think, because
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that, I don't know the answer. I don't think any of us know the answer, but we all have the different perspectives we're coming from. The first thing is that I'm not sure that Tormund, at least I don't think it's 100% response to the No Dime December movement. I think what happened was the launch of Primal Shards and Mythic Champions went so incredibly poorly that since that moment, Plarium has been making changes to try to alleviate some of this issue. I'm not sure that they understood how angry people were and how angry people continue to be. And so I think they're trying to get their heads around how to be friendlier to us and not lose money and not have to change their economic model. So maybe
it's so easy. It's so
it
easy.
Should be. It should be. We all think it's easy, but they
so
won't.
Many people quit over the mythics.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be your new fun thing,
right?
And you made people quit over it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just change them to be $2 a piece.
There you go.
Or $2.50 or $3 if you're greedy. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing. No difference.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, just take out the primal quartz out of the game. Just take that out immediately. Just remove that. It's embarrassing. You can't just give us one shard. You have to give us half of a shard or like a third. Like, it's so... They don't think about what we're going to feel like.
No, and I think that's actually the biggest change that I want to see. I want them to make our opinions matter as opposed to just throwing things at the wall and hoping they stick. Like the content creators are giving feedback. Just listen to your content creators. They hear, you hear. How many comments a day do you get that are negative towards Plarium? I mean, I have a fifth of your viewership, and I get dozens a day in every video that are just anti-Plarium. Yeah.
It's like we love this game.
We do.
We don't like how you run it.
Right.
You have great ideas on champion design, like how they look, the abilities that they bring to the game. Boss fights are interesting. Like, all of that stuff about the game is amazing. It's just you need to care about the players a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, care about what it's like to play this game.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Think about waiting for multiple years for a battle pass, and then you wake up and see that Xena pass. Like, how would you feel? They have no idea. They cannot relate to that.
So that kind of brings me a little bit to my second point, which is, I asked you about whether you thought the timing was good or not, and you said it's not, because it's extra challenging. There are reasons to spend in the game for Cyber Monday. I was thinking, Black Friday, but also the Christmas holidays, the New Year's, they're deals. I agree with you to some extent. I agree with you that it's harder. I think it's harder to not spend when the deals have gotten better, especially when you've been looking at really bad deals for the last couple of months. And so the motivation to spend is going to be higher. I think that potentially gives the movement an opportunity to be extremely successful. If more people choose to not spend during this time of year when Plarium expects to make a killing,
Yeah.
Right? Like every person that chooses not to spend in December, that's like not spending for 2 other months in the year.
It is. Yeah, probably.
You know, so potentially the challenge is higher, but because the challenge is higher, the effect could also be greater. And so that's one of the reasons why I think, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's going to hurt or help our chances, but if we do a good job, I think it will help our chances.
I really hope so. You know, at the end of the day, we just want the game to be good.
Yeah.
We want to all just have fun playing the game. We want the game to last. Like, we have good, positive intentions, and that's like the number one thing that needs to come across to Polarium. Yeah. We don't have negative intent in mind. We want the game to last years into the future, but if you don't change the way that you're doing things, it's not going to.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's the perfect message. All right. So listen, this has been fantastic. Thanks for coming on the channel and talking about this. I think one of the things that I've been asking for is just for the conversation to keep going. You and I clearly don't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot of things. And I think we agree on more than we disagree on.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And
in fact, the last thing that you said there is we all want the game to be healthy. We want the player experience to be good. We're happy with Polarium being a successful business. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We simply feel that there's potential here for this game to be amazing, to last a really long time, but only if certain changes happen. And whether or not you're on board with No Dime December or not, I think the desire is still the same for everybody, which is let's make the game better.
I mean, even if I do end up spending some money in December, it's going to be considerably less than what I would have normally spent had we not been doing this conversation.
Right.
You know, if No Dime December didn't exist, I would certainly be spending more. So even if I do end up spending on the game, it'll be much less than what I would have normally spent.
And hey, it is in fact the holiday season. Jay Giggs put up I think it was a GoFundMe for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So if you want something to do with your money, you can spend it on presents for your loved ones. You can donate it to a worthwhile charity like that. There are other places that money can go that are going to make you feel good. And so, you know, there are other options there. And I think that is also important, that you don't have to spend zero to be on board.
Yeah.
If you cut your spending in half, that also sends a message. If you cut your spending by 3/4, that also sends a message. So, you know, don't feel like you have to bear all the pain. Like, it can be something that, you know, a little bit can go a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Do you have anything else you want to add? Anything on your channel that you want to promote here, or anything you want to say to the community? Maybe
I'd love for you guys to come out and take a look at the Faction Wars video that we recorded. We finished up a series that I've been working on for almost all of 2023, a different faction with a different content creator. And I think a lot of the viewers on this channel would benefit from that information. If you're coming up in the game and you need faction war teams, I have cool conversations with this dude over here and a bunch of other content creators. So come out and check that out. You know, we love the raid community. You guys are the best, and you're the whole reason why we're able to do this. So we appreciate you too.
Absolutely. And I'll just echo, I think that series was really fun. So you should go over there and check out MtgJedi's channel. Definitely give him your subscription as well. I'm a subscriber. I've been watching for a couple of years, and I really appreciate your content. So it's been great having you here on the channel.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm super glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So that is it for us today. Thanks so much for hanging out. I've been Colred. This guy is, well, you know who he is, MtgJedi. And we will see you in some other video, probably on his channel soon.